Iran has just inflicted a profound strategic blow against the core of the US-Israel defensive architecture. Let that sink in for a moment. This was not a skirmish. This was the disabling of the Sky Sentinel early warning radar complex, a system specifically designed to provide 10-minute advance notice against ballistic and cruise missile threats from the east. The Sky Sentinel unit was a classified joint development project costing over $3.2 billion to research, deploy, and integrate over the last decade, and its operational capacity is now effectively gone. Tehran used a coordinated swarm of its newly upgraded Shahed 149 Gaza drones, paired with the previously unrevealed Fateh 2 hypersonic glide vehicle, to achieve complete tactical surprise. The drones were not the primary threat, but a diversion, a screen designed to saturate the immediate defenses, while the Fateh 2 bypassed the longer-range interceptors entirely. The result is a critical operational blind spot now stretching over 400 kilometers, directly impacting Israel's ability to track inbound threats across its eastern frontier and forcing a scramble of repositioned assets from other vital sectors. In nutshell and quick, before we go further, huge thanks for being here. Your support keeps this running. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Hit like, turn on notifications. It genuinely helps. Now let's get into it. Here is what we know. We know the Sky Sentinel complex, comprising 3 fixed-site arrays, and its mobile command node ceased transmitting critical data streams approximately 72 hours ago. Satellite imagery confirms significant structural damage to at least 2 primary radar dishes consistent with high explosive impact, and a ground team assessment indicates the core processing units are irreparable on site. The Iranian state media is showcasing what they claim are flight path simulations and target acquisition data, confirming their full awareness of the complex's vulnerabilities. We know the immediate operational response involved the urgent deployment of an additional 2 Patriot PC-3 batteries from U.S. Central Command stocks and the activation of reserve air defense units within Israel. This reallocation means other, less immediate but still vital zones are now under-defended, a dangerous gambit in an already volatile region. This indicates a very real and immediate concern about the integrity of the aerial defense umbrella. Now understand what this means. What we do not know is how Iran precisely bypassed the integrated electronic warfare countermeasures that were supposed to jam or divert such a sophisticated attack. We do not know the extent of Iranian intelligence penetration that allowed them to blueprint such a precise strike against a supposedly hardened target. The silence from Washington and Jerusalem on the specific munition payload of the Fateh 2 and its guidance system capabilities is deafening. We do not know if this was a one-off demonstration or the start of a new phase of asymmetric strikes targeting high-value strategic assets. The lack of detailed public intelligence regarding the kinetic impact and the precise damage assessment suggests a concerted effort to control the narrative and perhaps to prevent further panic or an admission of systemic failure in defense protocols. And most people think that layered air defense systems like those operated by the US and Israel are impenetrable fortresses. They believe that with enough radars, enough interceptors, and enough computing power, no aerial threat can consistently breach them. The reality is that no defense is perfect, and against a well-resourced, determined adversary using novel tactics, even the most advanced systems have exploitable vulnerabilities. And here is why that gap in understanding is the most dangerous thing happening right now. Western doctrine has assumed quantitative superiority combined with technological edge would always deter such direct challenges. Iran just demonstrated that by focusing on asymmetric costs and specific weak points, they can achieve strategic effects far beyond what their conventional forces suggest. They did not try to overwhelm the entire system, but surgically removed a critical component. This is not about winning an air battle. That is about fundamentally changing the strategic equation by removing a key warning system before the main engagement even begins. That gap between perception and reality creates a false sense of security which leads to unpreparedness. Nan, let me be precise. This event sets off a cascading domino chain that reverberates across the entire Middle East. The first domino to fall is the immediate degradation of Israeli air situational awareness over its eastern flank. This means response times against any future ballistic missile launches are reduced by crucial minutes. Those minutes are the difference between intercept and impact. The second domino is the forced redeployment of US and Israeli assets. Each Patriot battery moved away from another critical position creates a new vulnerability. This stretches existing resources thin, leaving key population centers or strategic installations exposed. The third domino is the psychological impact on regional allies. Gulf states who rely on the perceived strength of the US-Israel security umbrella are now questioning its efficacy against a determined Iranian threat. This could lead to a re-evaluation of their own defense posture, and perhaps a quiet opening of channels with Tehran. The fourth domino is the operational validation for Iran's military-industrial complex. They now have tangible proof of concept for their advanced drone and hypersonic missile programs. This will attract more buyers and accelerate their proliferation to proxies, further destabilizing the region. The cost of this chain reaction is measured not just in hardware, but in shattered confidence and eroded deterrence. Now, watch how this plays out in two very different paths. Path 1 involves a direct and robust retaliatory strike by the US and Israel. This path sees precision air strikes against Iranian missile manufacturing facilities and drone bases. The morning after in this scenario involves a dramatic spike in global oil prices, potentially reaching $150 a barrel, as shipping lanes in the Strait of Hormuz are immediately threatened. Iran's government would rally its population around a narrative of heroic defense against foreign aggression, unifying domestic support for the regime. The American president would face immense pressure from Congress and international partners to prevent a wider regional war while simultaneously demonstrating resolve. U.S. forward operating bases across the Gulf would be placed on maximum alert, expecting retaliatory proxy attacks. This path leads to direct conflict. NEN Path 2 involves a strategic reevaluation and a period of calculated restraint. The morning after in this scenario sees Washington and Jerusalem working furiously behind closed doors to restore the intelligence gap created by the Sky Sentinel loss. This would involve a significant boost in intelligence gathering assets over Iran, possibly including covert operations and satellite surveillance. The Iranian government would declare a monumental victory to its people, reinforcing its image as a formidable regional power capable of challenging the established order. OPEC Plus nations, particularly those aligned with Russia, might subtly shift allegiances, sensing a weakening of U.S. influence. American energy prices would likely see a sustained but not catastrophic increase due to ongoing uncertainty, but direct military confrontation would be averted for now. This path leads to a fundamental recalibration of power. And then, this is the part no one is saying out loud. China is watching this entire situation with cold, calculating precision. Beijing's military planners are analyzing every data point of the Fateh 2's performance, its terminal guidance, and its ability to penetrate what was considered a robust air defense network. Their primary interest lies in understanding how such systems might hold up in a future contingency scenario, perhaps involving Taiwan. They are looking at the asymmetric cost equation, the U.S. reliance on expensive high-tech solutions versus Iran's low-cost, high-impact strategy. This operational data informs their own anti-access area denial capabilities. Russia, too, is studying the Iranian tactics. For Moscow, the tactical lesson here is clear: how to blind and degrade sophisticated Western defense networks using affordable munitions for future use on the Ukrainian front or in other flashpoints. They are specifically validating doctrines of saturation and layered attack to bypass NATO defenses. These third-party observers are not just watching with great interest, they are actively incorporating these lessons into their own strategic playbooks. Let's look at a historical parallel here. Consider the operational shock of the 1973 Yom Kippur War. Egyptian and Syrian forces using Soviet-supplied anti-air and anti-tank missiles, notably the SA-6 Gainful and the AT-3 Sagar, initially devastated Israeli air power and armor. The SA-6's mobility and high kill probability against low-flying aircraft forced a complete re-evaluation of Israeli and, by extension, Western air combat doctrine. The Israelis had believed their air superiority was unchallengeable, a myth shattered by highly effective asymmetric weapons. The operational mechanism is precisely mirrored here. A seemingly inferior power using new or unexpected tactics and weaponry managed to neutralize a key component of a technologically superior adversary's defense, forcing a dramatic and costly shift in operational posture and a painful reassessment of established dogma. The initial high losses of Israeli aircraft due to the SAMs directly forced the U.S. to undertake a massive resupply operation known as Operation Nickel Grass, showing the alliance's vulnerability. That is not just history. That is today's playbook. Now understand what this means for the long game. The cost equation here is brutal for the U.S. and Israel. An advanced Shahed 149 drone costs perhaps $5,000 to produce. A Fateh 2 hypersonic vehicle, while more expensive, likely still falls under $2 million per unit. The Sky Sentinel complex it disabled cost $3.2 billion to deploy. To defend against such a strike, a Patriot PAC-3 interceptor costs around $4 million. An Iron Dome interceptor is about $15,000. This means Iran can saturate a defense system for literally pennies on the dollar compared to the cost of interception. For every $2 million Fateh 2 Iran fires, Washington and Jerusalem might need to fire multiple interceptors costing tens of millions. This is not sustainable over time. The economic grind alone makes this defeat far more potent than a simple loss of hardware. It means the alliance is burning through its defense budget at an asymmetric rate, a rate Iran can sustain for years. This is the part no one is saying out loud. How exactly did this specific strategic layer collapse? The full implications of the Sky Sentinel loss are not yet public, but the silence from top brass speaks volumes. The strategic deterrence model in the region just fractured. The belief that U.S. and Israeli technological superiority could always guarantee regional air dominance has been challenged by a precision asymmetric strike. The loss of the Sky Sentinel complex has created a critical intelligence vacuum in a highly volatile region. One side believes it has achieved a new level of strategic capability. The other side is now scrambling to understand how its most advanced defenses failed. The alliance faces a strategic decision not just about retaliation, but about the fundamental re-evaluation of its entire regional defense doctrine against a newly validated threat.